9% for our export to Russia. I think that Italy was, with Germany and maybe other smaller countries, one of the countries most affected. But frankly speaking, I don't think that we can be conditioned too much in our political decisions by this reality. The reality is there, but we showed firmness, we agreed on sanctions, and I have to say that we put in place sanctions even in a more direct way than other countries. So we are perfectly aware of the difficulties of certain sectors in particular, but it was the only way to show firmness against what happened.
And has Italy been successful at redirecting those exports to the U.S. or to other emerging market countries?
Yes, surely. Our export last year was in perfect good shape. What perhaps we didn't succeed to do, and we need to do, is to have in different sectors of the economy that are not sanctioned, also stronger activities with Russia. What is strange, for example, is that I told you that our country had a 9% minus in export to Russia, but other countries last year had very good results in relation with Russia, including the United States, which means that in sector not sanctioned, there is room for business. And we don't have to undervalue this possibility as business community.
What will Italy's position be should further economic sanctions be on the agenda at the summit of the EU leaders on Thursday?
Well, the European functioning is rather complicated, as you know, but the summit in Thursday is an informal summit. So that there could be a political discussion, but there are not sanctions to be decided. Obviously, we all hope that tomorrow evening the meeting between Poroshenko, Putin, Angela Merkel, and Hollande will take place and will have good results. This is the reason why the European Foreign Affairs Council yesterday morning in Brussels decided to postpone to next week the adoption of further listings of people sanctioned by European Union. We decided this 20 days ago. There are 19 new persons from Ukraine, separatists, and Russians. But we decided also not to put this in practice before next Monday, just to give a message that we are really hoping that the negotiating process and the dialogue can get some success. Obviously, if the dialogue will fail, if the negotiating process will not have good results, this would be for Russian responsibility. I think that the key of the dialogue and of the negotiating process is in Russian hands. And if there is a failure, I am convinced that the European governments will discuss what to do. I would prefer not to go in details now of what to do, because the process is going on. They have to meet tomorrow, and really, let's hope that the meeting will be successful.
Would you consider yourself optimistic at this point toward a resolution that you would consider good from this meeting?
Well, I had many discussions in the last days with different foreign ministers directly involved in this negotiation. Their countries directly involved in this negotiation with Minister Steinmeier, Minister Lavrov, Hughes. Well, they are discussing many issues. I think are not simple to solve. All the issues are not simple to solve, especially perhaps the ways to control the borders between Russia and Ukraine, but also the status, the future status of Ukrainian eastern regions, and many other issues. But the fact that they met after the meeting in Moscow, Sherpas continued their work in Moscow, and then there was yesterday a meeting in Berlin, and today there is a meeting going on in Belarus, already in Belarus. All these meetings going on, I think, demonstrate that there is a process. So it's not a problem to be optimistic or pessimistic, because we will know tomorrow in the evening. For the moment, the process is going on, and it is concentrated on the solution of practical but very relevant issues still open.
And I'll ask one more question on this, and if I can phrase this correctly, for the EU, is reaching a negotiated peace right now, given all the economic implications and political implications of continued war in Ukraine, more important than the possibility of Ukraine's borders shifting in some way? I mean, is the EU prepared to see Ukraine's borders shift at this point in order to attain peace?
Well, I think that Europe was very consistent in these months, and it is not obvious because Europe is 28 different states from Lithuania to Greece. And I assure you that Lithuania and Greece had very different position on the Ukraine issue. It's not only a geographical distance between them. But notwithstanding these differences, Europe was very consistent in these months. The sanctions we decided were very effective. Obviously, we can discuss if the main factor to provoke economic difficulties in Russia was perhaps the oil price and not the sanctions. But the two things went together. We decided this with consequences, as we were saying, for our economies. So we are not ready to accept anything different than the sovereignty of Ukraine in its territory. Obviously, we have to discuss, and the negotiating process is also this. We have to discuss the situation of these regions, the relation between these regions and that if there is a political will from Moscow, because this is the real issue. Is there a political will from Moscow to accept the regulation of the problem? There are many possible solutions for the eastern regions of Ukraine. We have also an Italian model, which is Sud Tirol. Obviously, it's a joke because the differences are enormous, but we have in our country a region in where people are not speaking Italian in their majority. These issues for many, many years was a very difficult issues with terrorism and tensions between two countries, Italy and Austria. At the end, after many years, we have an agreement with great autonomy. So I'm not proposing this. Oh, I proposed this to our Russians and also European colleagues. But it's not a model, obviously. But it's only to explain that it is possible and even necessary in the Europe of today to have sovereign states that have within their borders communities with different cultures and different languages. It's not something impossible if Putin has the political will to go there.
I wanted to ask you very briefly on Greece. What have you meant by saying that a flexible approach between Brussels and Athens, resulting in an agreement on Greek debt, can strengthen all parts, including Italy?
Well, I think what I meant is what I said, that we need flexibility on both sides. Will we have flexibility on both sides? I'm rather optimistic. I share the opinion that Marchione said before, that the situation is not Europe with a possibility of a collapse. I think Europe is there, but obviously the risk of a what we call Brexit or whatever you want is a risk that we have to avoid. Can we avoid it? I think, frankly speaking, yes. I saw flexibility in practice on the Greek side. In some occasions, vocal declarations. For example, the finance minister of Greece told an Italian TV show that Italy was at risk of collapsing, and our finance minister answered that this is not the case, obviously. But apart from this kind of declaration, I think that they are not asking directly the restructuring of their debt. Many of the electoral campaign issues are over, as always. It's not only a Greek phenomenon. And if, I repeat, there is flexibility, it's not easy, but we can find a solution. So tomorrow we'll have a very important day in Minsk, in Istanbul, where the Eurogroup is meeting, and even in Libya, where for us Italians there could be some very crucial meeting for the Libyan process. I don't think that tomorrow for the Greek issue it will be the final